I just want to focus in on something that you've just said there, and I think this is moving on very nicely to Irum and the work that she's been doing with the recycling team. So, Irum, recycling is clearly one of the things most associated with combating climate change. It's also an area that I know schools often struggle with, sometimes because of cost, other times because we as a council don't always recycle all of the materials that they might want us to, or they might not have access to the right recycling facilities. So what can we do as a council, and what can you do within your role to help school kids, young people and schools recycle more?
Okay. We've been talking about all these recycling, and Diana has actually touched upon some of the points really very nicely. So recycling is always thought of as a primary means to reduce the amount of waste going to landfill. And there are quite a few things that the schools can do, including the management, and that's the staff as well as the children, the students. However, given the fact that the cost is the main driver here, what the schools can do rather focus on waste minimization to start with, which is always the most preferred option when it comes to waste hierarchy. For example, one of the biggest waste within the school operation is food waste. So identifying all those activities that are included within the food chain within that particular school, that will help them determine where they would need targeted actions, and that can help them eliminate food from becoming a waste in the first place. So this will certainly and essentially come with educating the staff that just Diana touched upon, as I said, and as well as the children. So it will not only stay within the school, but when it comes to their home and they're dealing with waste at the home, that will be replicated there as well. So this is one way of that, and which is the most preferred way. Now coming back to the school, what schools can do, they can actually weigh their financial implications of general waste and recycling. It will entail the identifying the composition of their waste, that what is the ratio of recycling, and it will give them a clear understanding of how much the recycling service will cost them, and then they can actually analyze that how much this cost will be offset against the savings that they will be able to make by diverting this waste and this recycling from the waste. And there is really good help available from the Recycle Now website as well. There is also a TerraCycle scheme that we, all those who are working in waste and recycling are much aware of that, and they actually target all the hard to recycle plastics. So that can actually, the schools can take benefit of. And then finally, in the recent past, we have been approached by quite a few schools for our recycling boxes. It is sad that schools are not included within our contract for waste and recycling. So we could afford to provide only limited number of recycling boxes, which they wanted to place in their classrooms to be used as the collection point for the recycling. As we are all now aware that we are moving away from these recycling boxes in order to tackle the issue of our wet paper and cardboard. So there will be opportunity available for all the schools, whoever is interested, to take these recycling boxes from us once we collect them from residents. So that is what we will actually be advertising to all the schools. But again, coming back to the main point, that minimization of waste is really, really important. So education of the staff as well as the children is really important in that matter.
Wonderful. Thank you, Irum. Some really interesting points there, particularly around food waste, which has been such a success around Wokingham Borough in households, and clearly more work that needs to be done there as well. You talked about recycling bins. Are there things that are often put into recycling bins that shouldn't be?
Yeah, it is quite sad that quite a lot of these things that are actually appear in the recycling, they are the more important thing. One of the things that actually should result in the miscollection as well includes glass, which can be recycled in the bottle banks. Polystyrene, and there is quite a lot of polystyrene cardboard that is presented really nicely for the collection, but sometimes it is all mixed up with polystyrene. And when considering that our collection crew collecting from hundreds of properties in a day, it is not possible for them to remove that polystyrene from the cardboard. So unfortunately, then they have to leave that behind. So a clear kind of like whatever residents do in a clear way, or the more they help, the more it helps us in collection and then post collection when it comes to sorting. Dirty nappies unfortunately appear in the recycling, and our residents need to be aware, need to be really understand this point that the collection, post collection, there is a sorting facility which entails both manual as well as mechanical sorting. So just imagine if these dirty nappies come across them and they are manually handling, which is not really pleasant. So black plastics we cannot recycle. We have informed residents of the reasons as well, that it includes the carbon pigment, which is making them difficult to be sorted. So these should be taken out from recycling. Any plastic that doesn't contain any shape, for example, carrier bags and cling films, and likewise the plastic toys, the rigid plastic that shouldn't be in the recycling, some small electrical items, coffee cups, unfortunately that cannot be recycled, metal pots, flower pots. So these are some of the items that shouldn't be in the recycling in the first place.
So, Irum, thank you for that. So, glass into bottle banks, no polystyrene, no dirty nappies, no black plastics, carrier bags, toys, plant pots. Just one question I know we got asked a lot is, why don't we recycle glass on the curbside? Why do we have to take it to bottle banks?
So glass is, to be honest, from the health and safety point of view, DEFRA doesn't want glass in the curbside collection anyway. So that is causing a lot of health and safety issue for the collection crew and as well as the residents. I know that it is kind of like convenience. So that is one of the points which was not really very much talked about. But from our collection point of view, we have got really very well established system in the form of bottle banks around the borough. So the benefit of the bottle banks in the borough is that it is all color sorted. So, and the color sorted glass means that it is definitely gets recycled into another glass bottle. When it is all mixed up together, it loses its value. For example, if we start collecting on the curbside, then it will be all mixed. So when it is mixed, it is rather crushed and used as aggregate, for example. So it doesn't really maintain that kind of quality. We lose that out from the recycling loop. So that is one of the another reason. And then we have actually analyzed our general waste for recycling and for blue bags, general rubbish, and we have identified that it is only 1,500 tons, which is quite considerable amount of glass in the bag. But looking at this total amount of waste that is generated within Wokingham is 70,000 tons every year. So 1,500 tons, like an amount of money that is invested into that 1,500 tons to divert it from general waste is quite substantial. So when we actually weigh our options and we actually do the cost-benefit analysis, so it is something that we cannot ignore. And as I said, that our current system is very well established. I understand that there is a bit of inconvenience, but in order to tackle that, we are trying to expand our glass bottle banks as much as possible within the borough.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. One final question for you, Irum. So you just said that 70,000 tonnes of waste goes through Woking Borough every single year. How much of what people put into recycling is actually recycled?
We try to recycle as much as we can, almost, I would say 100%, depending on the quality of the recycling. As I mentioned in my first question or second question, that the more our residents do, the more it helps. So the quality of recycling actually determines what is happening later on. So there is really quite good kind of information available on the RV3 website, who are our partners and our disposal contractors as well. So 80% of our material is recycled within the UK, including all plastics. And currently, we are aware that, unfortunately, because of the global marketing scenarios, any paper and cardboard, when it gets wet, we cannot recycle. So currently, that is the only item that we cannot recycle. So we are looking into that. So by the time it will still take us time, a couple of more months or so, to deliver an alternative to tackle that issue of wet paper on cardboard. So what residents can actually do, they can present their waste and recycling by 6:30 in the morning. I know we have provided that time for that time window of no earlier than the night before. But it will still help if they can manage to put that out by 6:30 in the morning. That is when where our collection starts, and then keeping their cardboard as securely, as safely as possible, unless the new alternative is delivered. So and that's the information. There is also a good video on from RE3 that what happens to the waste when it is collected from the doorstep. So I would recommend our residents. And one more thing in reference to the last question that you asked about what can be recycled or what appears in the recycling, there is really very good app which is called Recyclopedia. I would really recommend to our residents to please take the most out of it. So it almost provides almost 100% of information correctly, that what part of, for example, a particular product can be recycled and what should go in the general rubbish.
Wonderful. Thank you, Irum. Thank you very much for your time.